Let's get it poppin' with the facts.
Yeah.
Here are 50 amazing facts to blow your mind. Only 3 people in America were qualified to hand-pack the parachutes for Apollo 15. Their expertise was so vital that they were not allowed to ride in the same car together for fear that a single auto accident could cripple the space program. Teddy Roosevelt was chosen as vice president due to his support of antitrust reform, and conservatives knew the VP had little power. However, 6 months into the term, President McKinley was assassinated and Roosevelt became president, ushering in an unprecedented era of antitrust and labor reforms. The Japanese bullet train system is equipped with a network of sensitive seismometers. On March 11, 2011, one of the seismometers detected an 8.9 magnitude earthquake 12 seconds before it hit and sent a stop signal to 33 trains. As a result, only one bullet train derailed that day. Angelina Jolie once tried to hire a hitman to kill her because she felt that a murder would be easier on her family than her ending her own life. However, that would-be hitman talked her out of it by asking her to wait a month. When Robert Ballard, professor of oceanography, announced a mission to find the Titanic, it was a cover story for a classified mission to search for the lost nuclear submarines. They finished before they were due back, so the team spent the extra time looking for the Titanic and actually found it. When Lawrence Anthony, known as the Elephant Whisperer, passed away, a herd of elephants arrived at his house in South Africa to mourn him. Although the elephants were not alerted to the event, they traveled to his house and stood around for 2 days and then dispersed. There's a restaurant in New York called Enoteca Maria that doesn't employ chefs. They employ grandmas. Every day, a different grandma from around the world designs her own menu. A Polish environmental charity put a SIM card in a GPS tracker to follow the migratory pattern of a white stork. They lost track of the stork and later received a phone bill for $2,700. It turns out someone in Sudan had taken the SIM from the tracker and made over 20 hours of phone calls. Prince William and Prince Harry pulled a prank on their grandmother, the Queen, by changing her voicemail answering message to say, "Hey, what's up? This is Liz. Sorry I'm away from the throne. For a hotline to Philip, press 1. For Charles, press 2. And for the corgis, press 3. Martin Short, Steve Martin, and Tom Hanks have regular colonoscopy parties. This is where they prep together overnight and share one car on the ride to get their colonoscopies the next day. Jim Carrey was the first actor to have 3 films go straight to number 1 in the same year. The year was 1994, and the films were The Mask, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, and Dumb and Dumber. I'm not gonna lie, that was a great year. In ancient Rome, commoners would evacuate entire cities in acts of revolt called cessations of the plebeians, leaving the elite in the cities to fend for themselves. A woman was sentenced to life in prison for poisoning her child with antifreeze. She gave birth to a second child while in prison who was given to foster care. But he became sick with the same symptoms, and it turned out that he had a genetic metabolic disorder, not poisoning. She was later released. A family in Georgia claimed to have passed down a song in an unknown language from the time of their enslavement. Scientists identified the song as a genuine West African funeral song in the Mende language that had survived multiple transmissions from mother to daughter over multiple centuries. Nirvana played a concert in Buenos Aires where the crowd threw mud and trash at the all-girl opening act. Kurt Cobain was so upset that he sabotaged the show by playing mostly lesser-known songs and teasing "Smells Like Teen Spirit" without ever actually playing it. Astronomer Harlow Shapley firmly believed that there was only one galaxy in the universe, but when he was presented with evidence that disproved this view, he said it destroyed his universe. Then he completely changed his view and devoted his subsequent career in mapping 76,000 galaxies. Steve Jobs never coded for Apple. According to Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak, he didn't do any original design, and one of Apple's earliest employees has stated that Woz was the inventor while Jobs was the marketing person. Eminem's song "Lose Yourself" was the first rap song to win an Oscar for Best Original Song, but Eminem did not even watch the awards because he did not think that he stood a chance chance of winning. Instead, he fell asleep watching cartoons with his daughter. Bob Fletcher was a man who took care of the farms of 3 Japanese American families while they were interned during World War II. By keeping their farms running and paying their taxes and mortgages, he ensured the families didn't lose everything. Nas listed his then 7-year-old daughter, Destiny Jones, as an executive producer on his 5th studio album, Stillmatic, to ensure that she would always receive royalty checks from that album. The belly button is so dirty that scientists are finding new unknown bacteria. One person had bacterium previously found only on Japanese soil where he had never been. You are less likely to die during an economic depression. This is mostly attributed to cleaner air, reduced traffic, and fewer dollars spent on vices like tobacco and alcohol. In 2016, scientists discovered the tail of a 99-million-year-old dinosaur full of feathers perfectly preserved in amber. Was that the Baldosaurus Rex? Oh! TurboTax Free is not actually free, but TurboTax Free File actually is free if you make less than $36,000 a year. This was done purposefully to mislead the public into paying for a service that should be free according to the IRS. FBI agent Robert Hansen was tasked to find a mole within the FBI after the FBI's moles in the KGB were caught. It turns out that Robert Hansen was the mole and had been working with the KGB since 1979. In 1985, a guy programmed his computer to call Jerry Falwell Sr.'s toll-free prayer line every 30 seconds for 8 months. It clogged up the lines and cost them over $750,000 in reverse charges. A group of undercover Detroit police posing as drug dealers tried to arrest another group of undercover police posing as drug buyers back in 2017. When former Tonight Show host Johnny Carson died in 2005, Late Show host David Letterman recited a comedic monologue at the beginning of the show, revealing later that every joke had been written by Carson, who had been sending in 1 or 2 jokes a week during his retirement. No, don't meow at me. I know, I love you. 22-year-old Canadian man John McHugh took it upon himself to fill potholes with the sign, "I filled the potholes, pay me instead of your taxes." Drivers gave him cash, coffee, and joints for filling in potholes. In 1825, painter Samuel Moores received a letter which read that his wife was sick. The day after, a new one said that she was dead. 2 days later, he discovered that his wife was already buried. Angry about the slowness of communications, he invented Morse code. When Sharon was giving up, sick in bed with cancer, Ozzy asked Robin Williams to visit her. He hopped in her bed randomly, and apparently her family went from crying to peeing themselves laughing in a second. She loved it and went from giving up to chemo the next day. Ghostbusters actor Ernie Hudson, who played Winston Zeddemore, auditioned as the voice for the same character in the animated series, but was rejected because they didn't think he sounded enough like Winston from the movie. The reason why we view Neanderthals as hunched over and degenerate is that the first skeleton to be found was arthritic. When a 400-year-old rare old bonsai tree was stolen, the bonsai master gave out instructions on how the thief could care for the plant so it didn't die, as he felt it was his child. Even though Philo Farnsworth, the inventor of electronic television, was disappointed by it for most of his life, he changed his mind the day he saw Neil Armstrong walk on the moon thanks to his invention, telling his wife this has made it all worthwhile. In 2012, a Burger King employee anonymously posted an image on 4chan of him putting his feet in lettuce with the caption, "This is the lettuce you eat at Burger King." It took only 20 minutes for people to track down the branch the employee worked at and contact the news. He was promptly fired. Number 15, Burger King foot lettuce. Larry Hillblom, the H of DHL, regularly took trips to Asia to prey on underage girls. When he died in a plane crash, 4 of the illegitimate children he fathered were able to claim $50 million each from his estate. Fred Rogers proposed to his wife Joanne via letter. When she received it, Joanne rushed to a payphone to respond. She was so nervous that when Fred answered the phone, she was focused on the phone booth graffiti and greeted him by saying the S word. Fred laughed and she agreed to marry him. In 2018, a hacker broke into people's routers, over 100,000 of them, and patched their vulnerabilities so that they couldn't be abused by other hackers. These type of hackers, by the way, are called white hat hackers. Third man syndrome is an unseen presence reported by mountain climbers and explorers during traumatic survival situations that talks to the victim, gives them practical advice and encouragement. In Germany, it's illegal to kill any animal that's a vertebrate without proper reason, like the animal being ill or a danger to humans. Because of this, all German animal shelters are no-kill. An average silverback can deadlift 1,800 pounds, and their grip can crush a crocodile's skull. They are 4 to 9 times stronger than the average human male. Harper Lee's friends gave her a full year's salary for Christmas in 1956 so that she'd be able to take a year off from work to write. Lee used that time to write To Kill a Mockingbird, which has since sold over 30 million copies. After the world's largest beach cleanup at Mumbai's Versova Beach, olive ridley turtles returned to lay eggs for the first time in 20 years. George Washington allegedly said before his death that he would never set foot on English soil again. So when they erected a statue of him in London, they actually put US soil under the statue to honor that claim. Research shows that starting school at 10 a.m. instead of 8:30 a.m. halves student illness and improves academic performance. David Grohl wrote and recorded an entire album himself, singing and playing each instrument in the studio. He chose the name Foo Fighters to hide his identity. After a record label picked it up, he needed to recruit members to perform the songs live. Thus, the Foo Fighters were created. In 1995, a man received a check for $95,000 as junk mail. Jokingly, he deposited it into his account, but the check met all the legal criteria for a check and it was cashed. Lyndon B. Johnson constantly asked the flight crew of Air Force One to change the temperature of the cabin. Eventually, they installed a fake control knob for him to control the temperature himself. The president stopped complaining. After studios refused to do so, Monty Python and the Holy Grail was instead financed by the rock stars Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, Genesis, Jethro Tull, and Elton John, who all saw it as simply a good tax write-off. Well, I hope you liked that. Skibbly bop bop a doo bop a skibble dibble doo. Yeah. Bye. Okay. Yeah. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and an extra special thank you to my channel members. Don't forget there are clickable cards that you can click on screen right now if you want to watch some more content from me, including a bloopers reel, which is exclusive to channel members. And that's it. I'll see you guys next time. Love you guys.